Season 44, war number 4, and we're up against Sålty. And this time my team will be Kate Bishop, Shuri, and Jabari Panther. This was gonna be a pretty quick one, not too many fights, but nevertheless, let's get to it. In Section 1 I am taking Path 5, in Section 2 I will be taking Path 2, and then for the mini-bosses I will be taking Rintrah and Jessica Jones, and that's it. Like I said, this is gonna be a pretty quick one. I don't have too many fights, but I'm sure I'll pick it up later in the season. Hopefully, at least. Up first here we have a Mangog on the Ebb and Flow knockdown and right back added nodes, and I'm taking this fight with Kate Bishop, starting with the cryo arrows. And Mangog is not exactly the best matchup for Kate Bishop, due to the fact that he can go immune to Cold Snap, but to avoid that, all I need to do is just avoid baiting his special ones, and I have to remember to not do full 5-hit combos. Both of those things feed him his charges once he gets to 10 and enters his enraged mode, I believe that's what it's called. His special one will then give him a buff that makes him immune to the Cold Snap, so it's very simple to avoid that altogether. I'm just gonna be pushing Mangog to his special 2 to start with, block that, and at this point when I have my Cold Snaps on, he's just gonna be melting from them and he's not gonna have enough time to trigger the immunity. He's gonna fall here after a few more seconds after I knock him down one more time to remove that protection. The fight goes down in just under a minute. I did take some cheap damage by blocking the special 2 there, but that's fine. It was a simple fight, and Kate Bishop's damage output it's insane. I've already said it before, I will continue to say it and show it as well. Then next up here we have a Nick Fury on the Ebb and Flow knockdown and heavy hitter nodes, and once again I am taking this fight with Kate Bishop, starting with the cryo arrows. Usually that's the arrow that I start with on basically any fight, unless I really need the utility from one of the other arrows, which usually just means that if I would be taking a matchup like that, I would simply just use a different champion altogether, so that doesn't really come into play. Now the idea here is that I'm gonna try to knock this guy down before throwing my special ones, if possible, but at the same time just getting the Cold Snap on even without the Fury passive damage bonus, the damage is still high enough to deal with this guy pretty quickly. Once the protection comes back, he will still keep melting from the Cold Snap, just not quite as fast, but that is very easily dealt with using these strikers that we now have access to in war as well. It makes so many champions so much more powerful, and as you can see, it just gives Kate Bishop even more reliability and makes her easier to use as well. Now, I accidentally mismanaged his tactical charges here in his second life, and he did manage to throw that unblockable special one, but I have been practicing fully dexing the special one, and I did actually get it there. If I hadn't, it would have been fine. The Cold Snap is passive, so him knocking me down would not have shrugged off the Cold Snaps, and he would have been dead anyways. Just saves me a couple potions is all. Next up we have a Mordo on a node that I forgot to check here, and I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I am taking the fight with Kate Bishop, once again starting with the cryo arrow, just to disable the automatic arrow swap mechanic. Now the node here gives the attacker placebo buffs. I'm not exactly sure if it was based on proximity to the defender. I would assume so, but I'm not sure. Either way, Kate Bishop being a decay tactic champion, she will be completely immune to the placebos, so that's not a problem in regards to Mystic Dispersion. Now this node also does give the attacker fury buffs whenever knocking down the defender. That buff expiring does feed MD, but it's only a single buff here and there, so it's not a problem. The Cold Snaps just completely melt Mordo down, and the passive stun on Kate's parry evade also cannot be shrugged by Mordo, so you can use those for easy openings. to start with at least. After that the cold snap prevents evade anyways, so you would be able to land your parries normally as well. And now here we have a Domino on personal space placebo, prey on the weak and EMP modifications, and I'm taking this fight with Shuri. Shuri being shock immune, she will not have to worry about the EMP mod applying shocks to her, but those EMP mod charges on the opponent do still give them energy burst damage on any hits that they land directly. So if I were to get comboed by her, while she has plenty of those, I would be dead despite Shuri's tankiness. Now one thing that I do have to watch out for in this fight are those placebo buffs. Whenever they expire, Domino is gonna be gaining a burst of power from the prey on the weak node, so I have to try to keep my distance so that I don't stack too many of them, on top of also baiting Domino Special 1 as often as possible. The fight goes down in less than a minute. I just used the usual Shuri strat by spamming Special 1, getting those guaranteed crits and just hitting the opponent until they fall basically. The damage output on Shuri once she gets going is pretty good. Now one thing that I do have to mention about this new war map is that I'm not a big fan of how much energy it takes to move across it due to all the portals on the map, but that's just a me problem I guess, since I do like to take my fights in one go. Anyways, next up we have a Rintrah on the Ebb and Flow knockdown and right back at it nodes, along with aggression prowess, and I'm taking this fight with Kate Bishop, starting with the cryo arrow. Now, as you saw there at the start of the fight, I immediately got parried, and that is because I start my fights with Kate Bishop by spamming light attacks most of the time. If the opponent tries to be aggressive, I can start the fight by throwing a full 5-hit combo to get a head start in the fight. If I get parried, then Kate Bishop's auto evade and stun will save me anyways, so there is no risk in doing so, unless you're facing someone who shuts down your evade or purify for whatever reason. Now that out of the way, the actual game plan for this specific fight is very simple. Just gotta keep baiting Rintrah Special 1, punishing it with a heavy attack to knock him down, which reduces his charges, as well as removes the Ebb and Flow protection, allowing me to just melt him down with the cold snaps as usual. A very simple fight, takes just over a minute since Rintrah is pretty tanky, but even then I'd consider this a pretty fast fight, especially for a non-science champion taking it. And I gotta say, Kate Bishop is proving her worth war after war, and you'll be seeing a lot more from her in later wars of the season, and probably next season as well. And then we have arrived at the final fight of this war, a Jessica Jones on the Hazard Shift Incinerate and Poison node along with stun immunity, and I am taking this fight with Jabari Panther, who is probably the best option for it. The cleanses make sure that the Hazard Shift debuffs never stick on you, so that's not a worry at all, and the cleanses also prevent Jessica Jones from ramping up at all, meaning she will not be triggering her Unstoppable or any of her other annoying abilities. All you gotta do to take the fight down is just hit her until she drops, bait the specials and avoid them. Basically the only real way to die here is by eating a special, or just getting comboed a couple times I guess. Now once you enter the hunt with JP, she's just gonna be melting the defender with all those bleeds and the crits as well, and this is only a rank 4 6-star JP, and not even a 7-star or a 6-star rank 5, and that JJ didn't even last 50 seconds. As for the results, we did end up losing the war 1-3. Not a horrible war on our part, but like I said earlier, we still gotta cut down on the deaths if we wanna keep competing with alliances like GD40 and Sålty.